Chapter 47. Min Li, Min Li! Ma and Ba's happiness burst from them like exploding firecrackers, and even before she could open her eyes, they had flung themselves upon her. The joy! How it flowed and flooded over her, more golden than the king's dragon bracelet, sweeter than a peach from the queen mother's garden, and more beautiful than a goddess of heaven. Min Li smiled, treasuring her good fortune. Ma and Ba only stopped hugging her when her stomach began to grumble with hunger. Ma rushed to make a special breakfast, taking out the carefully saved dry pork to make Min Li's favorite porridge, while Ba jumped to get some fresh water to make tea. But when Ba went into the main room, he made a choking noise that caused Min Li and Ma to come running. "What is it?" he said, pointing. Min Li followed his finger and saw him pointing at her traveling possessions on the table. The fish swam merrily around in its bowl, as the silk of her brocade bag made the sunlight skip around the room. "That is a bag given to me by the king of the city of bright moonlight," Min Li said. "It is very fine, isn't it?" "Not that," Ba said, waving the bag away. "That!" And now Min Li saw that he was pointing to Dragon's stone ball. "It's just a gift from a friend," Min Li said, handing it to her father. Ba took it in his hands reverently, a look of awe on his face. "This is not just any gift," Ba whispered, and he took his sleeve and gently rubbed the surface of the stone. To Min Li's great surprise, the grayness of the stone began to smudge away, and a translucent, lustrous glow seemed to shine through. "This is a dragon's pearl." Min Li and Ma stared. "A dragon's pearl?" Ma said slowly. She sat down and looked at Min Li. "A dragon's pearl is worth the emperor's entire fortune." Min Li opened her mouth, but before any words could come out, there was a great shouting and clamoring outside on the street. Ba quickly but carefully put the dragon pearl back on the table before they all hurried out to see what the uproar was about. "What is it?" Ma asked, grabbing a neighbor. The entire village had flowed into the street, talking and shouting like a flock of birds discovering a feast. "What is happening?" "It's Fruitless Mountain," the neighbor said. "Fruitless Mountain has turned green." "What?" Ba said. It's true," another neighbor chimed in. "Fruitless Mountain is no longer fruitless, and the Jade River is clear and fresh, too." Min Li, Ma, and Ba looked at the mountain. It was true. Fruitless Mountain was no longer a black shadow above them. As the day dawned, the mountain had transformed. A green lushness seemed to bloom from the rock. A jewel-colored splendor softened the sharp edges that had painfully sliced the sky. The sky itself seemed to be embracing the mountain. The wind softly caressed a newborn greenery with a nurturing breeze, and skimmed the Jade River, the water now as clear as tears of joy. "How is this possible?" Ma asked. "Jade Dragon must be happy again," Ba said. "Perhaps she is reunited with one of her dragon children." "Dragon," Min Li thought, and her quick thinking seemed to spin. Dragon said he was making his home on Fruitless Mountain. Could he be one of Jade Dragon's children? But how? Dragon was born from a painting, from paintbrushes and inkstones. And like an echo, Min Li remembered Ma talking about the artist who had come to Fruitless Mountain many years ago. He took the mountain rock to carve into inking stones. Perhaps Dragon was born from an inkstone made of Fruitless Mountain. The heart of Jade Dragon. Then perhaps he was one of Jade Dragon's children, and by bringing him to Fruitless Mountain, Min Li had discovered how to make Fruitless Mountain green again. "Min Li!" A villager finally recovered from the shock of the mountain and stared at Min Li. "You came back! Look, everyone, Min Li has returned!" As the neighbors clamored around, Ma sighed, but it was a sigh of joy, a sound of happiness that floated like a butterfly in the air. "Good fortune has come to the village," Ma said, smiling, "and to us as well." "Yes," Ba said, looking affectionately to Min Li, "but the best fortune is the one that returned." Minli smiled back, and suddenly, as she thought about her journey to and from Neverending Mountain, Minli realized that while she had not asked the Old Man of the Moon any of her questions, they had all been answered.